What if I told you Canada once built a Ferrari-style sports car, then accidentally sold half of them as boxes of spare parts? Ladies and gentlemen, and my friend Timmy, let me ask you something. What do you get when a French engineer, a Canadian dreamer, and a bunch of Renault leftovers walk into a bar? No, it's not the start of a bad joke. It's the start of the only Canadian-built sports car that ever had the guts to call itself Manic. And if that name sounds like something my neighbor Bob shouts before running into the woods with a tinfoil hat, well, you're not far off. Before we go full throttle, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Cool Ideas, the only channel where rare cars, questionable jokes, and a mild concern for Timmy's safety come together in glorious 1080p. All right, buckle up. This is the story of the 1970 Manic GT. The fiberglass fever dream that made Quebec believe it could race with the big boys. Picture this. It's 1968. Jacques About, a Renault guy in Canada, looks at the Alpine A110 and says, "Why import this when we can build our own?" Now that's the kind of optimism you usually only see in politicians before an election, or Timmy before a third date. So Jacques gets Bombardier and the Quebec government to invest 1.5 million Canadian dollars, which, back then, could buy you either a small factory or a lifetime supply of maple-glazed regrets. He hires a French designer, Serge Soumy, who shapes the body out of fiberglass so smooth it looked like it was sculpted by wind. The prototype rolls out in 1969, and by 1970, production starts in Granby. Under the hood, Renault parts. Lots of them. The engine was the Cléon-Fonte inline 4, wet liner block, aluminium head, with displacement starting at 1,108 cc and going up to 1,289 cc's. The power ranged from 65 horsepower to 80 horsepower, with buzz of a mythical 105 horsepower Gordini version that could supposedly hit 135 miles per hour, though knowing Renault gearboxes, that was probably downhill with a tailwind and Timmy pushing from behind. Transmission? Standard 4-speed manual with an optional 5-speed if you were feeling fancy. Rear-wheel drive, of course, because even in Canada, front-wheel sports cars were considered a cry for help. Now here's where it gets interesting. The Manic GT had independent suspension on all four wheels, with wishbones up front and swing arms out back, complete with coil springs and telescopic shocks. Braking was handled by disc brakes on all corners hidden behind 13-inch wheels. The steering was rack and pinion, direct enough that even Bob could pilot it without blaming aliens for his lane changes. The body sat on a stiffened steel frame, complete with a built-in roll bar like the one on a Saab Sonnet 2. It was low, just 3 feet 9 inches, 143 millimeter tall, and weighed only 450 pounds, 658 kilograms. Dimensions: 13 feet 6 inches, 428 millimeters long, 4 feet 11 inches, 1,500 millimeters wide, with a wheelbase of 7 feet 5 inches, 267 millimeters. The gas tank held 9.6 gallons, 36.4 liters, which was enough to outrun your regrets, but not enough to outrun Quebec winters. Inside, you got an AM/FM radio, a cigarette lighter because of course, and an electric clock that probably never worked. But hey, in the 1970s, that was practically luxury. Now here's where the maple syrup sours. Production stopped in 1971. Out of the planned 2,000 cars per year, only about 160 were built. And that's being generous. Many were sold as kits or half-assembled projects. Why? Supply chain issues, financial troubles, and Renault not exactly sending parts like it was Christmas. So the dream died, like Bob's plan to build a bunker powered by kombucha. And what did it cost back then? Just 3,384 Canadian dollars. That's about 2,800 US dollars. In today's money, around 30,000 CAD, give or take, depending on inflation and the price of nostalgia. That was the same money you'd spend on a Mustang or Camaro, except the Manic came with fewer cylinders, fewer dealers, and more questions. But let me say this. Despite the fiberglass quirks, despite the part spin engineering, and despite being rarer than a politician who admits they're wrong, the Manic GT had spirit. It dared to dream. It made a nation believe they could build a sports car from scratch. And for that, I think it deserves a little respect. And before we wrap this up, a massive thanks to our channel sponsors. See you next time on Cool Ideas, where the past is weird, the cars are weirder, and Timmy's probably lost in a Renault-powered fever dream.